Oh, hi everyone. I am coming to you to do a review of Bonita Barbie's video. Okay, is she getting prettier every time she goes on one of these films or what? She's just freaking beautiful. Okay, and she's smart too. So she needs to be like Bonita Brainy Barbie. Okay, just add another B in there, lady. So anyway, she touched on a lot of points, and I totally agree with everything she's saying. One of the things that she pointed out is that I understand this is the digital age, but you don't dangle a steak in front of a tiger. You don't go out there with a piece of raw meat in a tiger cage and dangle it and be like, hey, look at the steak. I'm just taking a picture of you. Okay, that's the equivalent of what some of these people are doing by putting their babies online. And it is too much, it is too often, and they're doing it when they're at an event. Okay, so they're saying, I'm not home, so if anybody wants to break in, oh, look, I've got my husband here with me. Half the time the moms don't do it, though, and so I do, kind of wonder what's going on with some of the moms just doing videos with just their kids, and then they've got all of these males giving them all of this attention, and I don't know. I just I don't think it's safe. I don't think it's right. And there have been some very high profile cases that are bringing that to the forefront. I do not remember the name of the toddler that had a very big presence on the internet. I think it was like 6 months ago, and all of a sudden, all of her videos were taken down, and it was because literally a man said he was coming to their address to our word, that baby, okay? And the other high profile case right now, you may have seen the headlines right now for the little girl named Eleanor, no, Ren Eleanor. So Ren, like the bird, Wren, Eleanor, common spelling. She is arguably the cutest little girl I've ever seen. I mean, just cute as can be. And I saw this story, and I have seen videos of this little girl before. And there are Reddit sublines, whatever you call it, when there's Reddit discussions or whatever. There's a couple Reddit discussions right now, and there are channels that are feeding off of hers. So right now, Ren Eleanor's mom, Jacqueline, has had to stop putting videos up, and she's going through to deleting them because of what's going on. Right now, the headlines are the financial exploitation of Ren Eleanor and the exploitation of Ren Eleanor. And there's a mom, I don't remember what her name is, but she is kind of, I thought that she was the mom of the little girl because right now her face is the one with the headlines. So what had happened was, because I went down the rabbit hole last night to figure this out, is that this really pretty girl, Young, was dating this guy, and he was all into her, and they were all having fun and everything, and then she revealed she was pregnant. And he's like, yeah, I don't have those feelings anymore. See ya. So she's very young, not judging. I had my first when I was 16, not even saying anything about that, okay? Because age does not have any bearing on what kind of a mother you are. I've seen some pretty damn shitty mothers that are 45, okay? And I've seen shitty mothers that are 15, so shitty moms is like a all age, all nationality, equal offender, okay? You can be a shitty mom no matter what, okay? You can be a good mom no matter what. But, anywho, so this chick, she's young, and she's beautiful, 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 and So she has this little baby, and the baby comes out. Oh my God, you have to see the newborn pictures of the baby, the biggest cheeks you ever seen in your life. And this little girl, is growing up, and she's got blonde hair, blue eyes, and a little cute button nose. She looks like Cindy Lou Who, and they even said that, in one of the Christmas pictures, okay? So the mom, being as that she's young and she's of the digital age, starts making these TikToks. So it's like TikTok Ren, and has an Instagram presence. Well, her TikTok presence is 17 million, okay? So this chick is very aware of what she's doing. She is putting up videos of the cutest little girl in the world and her quite often. Now, the problem is that she is being put up on videos in the bathtub, wearing a swimsuit, okay? Eating foods that are cylinder shaped, okay? The problem is that 17 million fans, the article yesterday stated that pedophilia occurs 1 in 100. So 1 in 100 of those viewers, arguably, or 1 in 100 of the population, is going to suffer from pedophilia, okay? So what they're saying is there's a lot of that. Now, she's worldwide. I went on to go down the rabbit hole to see some of these comments, and they're freaking disgusting. There are these men from all over the world, and they're here too, talking about what a sexy toddler she is. And they are using eggplant emojis, and making their own memes of their own vegetable on her picture, okay? So the question is being raised, does the mom know what she's doing? Is she essentially hosting an OnlyFans? Essentially, is she getting money from these men around the world for the pictures, okay? Now, the other side of the coin is, what if she just knows she has a really seriously cute girl and she's putting up videos because they make people happy? She's so cute, okay? Should she have to take them down because there are people who are going to see those pictures as a steak being shaken over a tiger? Is Ren Eleanor the steak and the pedophile the tiger? I don't know. I don't know. This whole digital age kind of baffles me in how much they share and overshare. And I have some people that have even said something about me. They're like, aren't you proud of your kids? Why don't you have them up? Why didn't you say something about this? Why didn't you say something about that? Well, I don't see you putting pictures of your kids up. What? Yeah, precisely. That's my point. And if there ever is a school event or something that we should be really proud of, I don't put it up for just anybody to see. It's for close family, close friends, and never in the same time period in which it happened, and never anything identifying where we were, et cetera, et cetera. So it's like anybody who would be like, oh, I could figure that out. Well, you'd have to do a little bit of work, and I'm not ever going to advertise when I'm not home. You know what I mean? And that's the other thing, like when you're on vacation and people are putting up pictures of them on vacation, they're advertising they're not home. So when you put up vacation photos, you should stage them so that you put them up when you're back home, okay? Am I perfect? No. And I'm sure that I've slipped up a couple of times and, you know, had something post too early, whatever. Um, but when you know better, you do better. And I think that we have to be really careful because, as the CW case has proven, we don't have freedom of speech. Um, it's just not there. Employers now want to have full access to every single Facebook, every single aspect of social media that you are on. Employers want to know. Okay, if you're on Facebook, what's your Facebook handle? If you're on Instagram, what's your Instagram handle? Okay, and then you certify that you do not have any other profiles than the ones you stated. Okay, that's our world right now, and they can go back and say that, okay, because you said this 8 years ago, that's not in line with this business's philosophy, or that could cause this to happen to this business, so you don't get the job or you get fired. And you sign contracts that say you understand that your employment is conditional upon you not posting anything that could reflect badly upon the business. So freedom of speech isn't there. Putting up pictures of your kids could lead to some pedo coming to your house. I mean, we've got a lot to figure out in how online safety is a part of our life and whatnot. Now, as it pertains to the CW case, there is nobody that would be approving of the amount of filming she was putting those girls on. That's why nobody was actually watching them when she was alive. She had very few people watching those videos. She lost a lot of friends, okay? And the friends that she did have were doing the same thing. They didn't think that there was anything wrong with what they were doing, and that says a lot about them. Arguably, as beautiful Barbie says, she welcomes all different opinions, and I do too, although at this point I still have comments off. Because I'm not talented in cutting videos, creating videos, whatnot. These are talking videos, something that you can listen to, you know, when you're doing dishes or whatnot. That's just the kind of content that I'm comfortable making right now, and I'm not comfortable having arguments with anybody about their opinion or whatnot. Just not right now. But I saw somebody yesterday on one of the threads in which I was on, because there are such talented creators right now that are making amazing videos and are really coming together and voicing what we've all been thinking, but we're too afraid to say. And so this one person was commenting, and she said she does not see any abuse whatsoever on these girls. She doesn't see any abuse in those videos. She doesn't see it. She said that she has been a foster, and she, I believe, alluded to the fact that she said that she worked for Child Protective Services, and that in that vein, she could see the warning signs if children had been abused, and she did not see any in those girls. Okay, I can see her opinion, and she can see mine, and that's fine. If she went and hosted her home to kids that didn't have them, that's a person that I'm going to bow down to, because great. I mean, if you can open your home to kids that need a home, that's amazing, okay? And her perspective may be different than ours in that she has seen children that were much more aggressively abused, that were taken out of the home, okay? So her perspective is different, okay? We can kind of say that, and we can agree to disagree. There are levels of abuse, and you have to watch these videos to catch them. You have to watch them without the sound on, and you need to watch and see what you see, not hear what you should be seeing. You need to see these girls being pinched, being messed with, being put on display like they are marionettes, being told what to say to this square box that your mother is speaking into. They have no way of being cognizant that there is a person on the other end of this phone looking at them. They did not know that. So when their mom is saying, say hi to so-and-so, say this, say that, they're looking at her like, I don't see anybody in front of me. And it's disheartening to see that SW was so detached from her own children that she couldn't see that. Now, do we see videos where Sweet Bella is climbing all over her mother, and everything, and SW is patting down her hair and everything? Absolutely, we see those, okay? But what we don't see is those kids being engaged in activities that are appropriate for their age level, okay? They're on her, they're whining and crying and whatnot because they're bored, because she did not want her home to get messed up, okay? She didn't want her claws to get chipped, okay? She put the importance of herself above motherhood. And I'm sorry, but when you do that, you're important and your children aren't. And that's that. There are different levels of abuse. There is psychological abuse. There is verbal abuse. There is physical abuse. And some are worse than others. Excuse me. I'm sorry. I swallowed wrong. Just a second. Sorry. Good Lord. Dying on my video here. Anyway, I'm sorry. I've been having a lot of problems with my asthma because the pollen is so high right now. A lovely summer, and it's blowing it all around. Anyway, I do apologize for coughing in your guys' ears. I hope you weren't wearing headphones. I'm sorry. So anyway, let me grab my inhaler here. The joys, I tell you. Sorry. Hold, please. I'm sorry. I am really sorry about that. So anywho, if you go into motherhood thinking that you're going to do it so that people can say you're a saint, don't do it. Don't do it, because motherhood is the most thankless job. You'll be alone. No one's going to give a flying shit that you're alone. You've been alone for days. You haven't been able to shower. Don't. Just, if you're going into it for something that it is a thankless, tiring, exhausting job. And your job is to instill independence into that child so that, God forbid, if something happened to you, they would be able to fend for themselves. You are the training wheels of that baby's life, okay? Of their vessel. And that's your job, is to teach them independence, not dependence. And when you see them hanging on to her like that, that is because she taught them to be dependent on her rather than them being able to find something for them to do, to be self-soothing, to seek out a learning opportunity, because anytime they did anything or turned their head the wrong way, they might get their earlobe pinched, their nose bridge pinched, or water sprayed in their face. I have never seen animals mistreated like that. And if animals were mistreated like that, I think that people would be a little bit more concerned. But in our country, animals sometimes are seen as more important than children when it comes to identifying abuse. I'm going to say that. Now, the person who was interacting with that conversation with the person who said this started off okay. Starts out, because they always do. They're always like, oh yeah, I can see that other people have opinions, and that's okay, and other opinions. And they have different opinions, and oh yeah. And then she straight up said, she goes, I don't care what anybody says. SW was a good mom. And then she said, anybody who doesn't think so is ignorant. Well, ma'am, would you like to go against me toe to toe with credentials, with your credentials for as much schooling as you have? Because I'm not the brightest light on the Christmas tree, but I bet you that I have a little bit more education than you do, and I don't think that I qualify as ignorant. And somebody saying that in that vernacular, when you say something like, anybody who doesn't agree with me is ignorant. Well, the ignorance isn't on the person who doesn't disagree with you. The person who's ignorant is the person who's saying that, because it shows that they do not have enough emotional maturity nor brain power to understand that their opinion is not the same as others. What if we all operated like that? What if we all had this groupthink, and if you had one idea different than what theirs were, you just were voted off the island, you were hung? What? I mean, where would we be in our society if that was the case? Okay? I couldn't believe it. I think it was a shiner in disguise, personally. I mean, I think that sometimes they kind of don't show their true colors for a minute. But anyway, I don't know if CW did this or not. I don't know. I don't know, but I'm going to tell you, the way they're saying it went down did not go down. And if you believe that it went down that way, I think you're ignorant. How about that? I mean, honestly, there's just no way. And like I say, the way that if you watch people in their body language, like I said in my last video, the Hamburglar, the woman wearing that Hamburglar suit, the black and white stripes, she went over and was, I mean, if some of you know the abbreviation, you know, let's say an FBSMT, you see? Let's see if anybody caught that. That's funny. I'm sorry. I'm being funny. Let's see who knows that slang. So anyway, let's say that an FBSM, because I'm telling you, the way that she was massaging his shoulders, that's the way you massage somebody when you're gonna get it on. Like the way that she was massaging him, I was waiting for one of those songs from What's His Face. It's like, oh, we're gonna get it on. Like, what the? Okay, if some male investigator was rubbing down the shoulders of, like I told you about Sarah Boone yesterday, if some big male wearing a Hamburglar suit is sitting there rubbing the neck and shoulders of some woman, like the next thing he's gonna do is go down south. I mean, come on. That was not a freaking normal shoulder massage. Like, I don't know if anybody who's ever touched me in that manner. I don't know. I don't know why they were doing that. So I say, if you are a big woman with these credentials, where you're working for the BCA or whatever, are you also a Craigslist hooker who goes and does FBSM? Okay, that's female sexual massage. Okay, are you giving sexual massages too? Because that's the kind of massage that was being given to CW, and I think it bewildered him. I don't know. But if you're a lady who works for the BCA, you're some hotshot criminal justice woman, why the fuck would you, why would you be doing that? Why are you touching somebody that you are going to be comfortable with signing off on murdering 5 people? Okay? Did they do that to John Wayne Gacy? Did he have somebody come in there and give him a big sexual massage? A full body sexual massage? Come on. Now, I'm adding a little humor in there, and people who can, who will shine will say that I'm bad for putting humor on it. But you know what? This whole thing is humorous when you look at all of the idiots that are coming on and giving their 2 cents and saying anybody who doesn't agree with me is ignorant. Okay? And I'll call her what you say. No. Okay, we're adults having adult discussions. Did you not play the game of Clue as a teenager where you sit there and you say, you know what, it was the butler in the library and he used the candlestick. That's all we're frickin' doing right here because something doesn't add up. Okay? So you say, what kind of quality of life did Bella and Cece have? Okay? Well, you see these people that are like, oh, she was a good and loving mother. Look at what she did. And look at that and look at that. Okay? Well, okay. But she could have been doing this and could have been doing that and could have been doing that better. Okay? And then there's the people who are like, well, she was a young mom, only got to be a mom for 4 years. Well, you know what? The first frickin' 5 years of a child's development are when they are going to learn the most in any other time period of their lives. They are literally little sponges of knowledge, okay? And that's why a lot of kids who hear more than one language in their homes are able to learn that language faster than they could learn a language at any other time in their life. Okay? It is for you. You have those 5 years with your child where they're not mandated to go to school during the day, which we can say the term was, but for the purposes of this discussion, let's say that you have 5 years with your child to go in and instill a foundation of life and to give them the independence and the confidence so that when they're not with you and they are in school, they'll know what to do and they'll know how to express themselves and they'll know how to learn more and they'll be able to embrace situations and thrive. Oh God, did I just say that word? Did I just say it? I'm sorry. Let me pinch my nasal bridge. Don't say the TH. All right. God, sorry about that. Anyway, so what I'm saying is, it is no excuse that she was only a mother for 4 years and didn't know better. No. You know what? She was an older mother by definition. Okay. Now, okay, if you get into this, that people are having children later and later. I mean, the Blessed Virgin Mary in the Bible only puts her at the approximate age of 14 years old. Women used to have children as soon as they began menstruating, which was around the age of 12. By our age, hi y'all, I'm in that age group, women weren't alive. They weren't alive to see their great-grandchildren and whatnot. So arguably, she was a more mature mother that should have known better. And I'm a solutions-based person. And if indeed there was a CPS investigation, and people either do or do not believe that, I don't understand why there were not solutions given to SW. If CPS was involved, it would be because more likely than not, it was a family member who reported, okay? Who would have been, well, but I guess, because I was going to say, because family members are in the home. Well, they had a freaking whole village living in their home, so I guess that's not even true. Somebody who had intimate knowledge of the inside of their home probably did. So I guess a close friend or family member would have reached out to Child Protective Services. As those who believe there was a CPS plan, they say that there's a family, like a family-based plan that aims at keeping the family together. I believe that could be true because right now there's a huge kickback to child services taking any child out, to the effect that they will allow siblings who are pedophiles, they are allowed to remain in the home, and parents are given a set of rules in how to monitor that child and still allow that child around the other child that they have. How can I say the word without getting busted here on YouTube? Victimized. I think I can say that. So, and there are not very many foster homes. That's the thing, is that no one wants to be a foster home. It's a mess. Okay, I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. But what I'm saying is, if they were really trying to keep this family together, and they, they would have went in and seen an immaculate home. They would have seen that the bedrooms have a blanket, a bed. They would have seen that the girls have clothing. They would have not seen visible bruises on the children. Although I do believe that I have a picture that shows Cece with some questionable bruises. If CPS was called there, they would have not seen anything very obvious. So they would have had to have had a detailed report from somebody who had intimate knowledge of the way that the family works and the way that SW was treating our children. So those concerns would have been addressed, and she would have been educated on how that is not an appropriate way to discipline a child. So that's where I don't know if there was a CPS thing or not, because I see the same behaviors from her to the girls consistently through. Now, the way that we could put a spin in that is to say that in North Carolina, when she went out there, when her dad came and flew, why would her dad go there to fly with her? I mean, probably because she couldn't handle the 2 kids on a plane by herself, which is so freaking comical for those of us who are actual mothers. Like, what the... Anyway, so if she could not be alone with the kids, they could have put in this solution that said they're going to let her go to North Carolina for 6 weeks. The parents will be there to supervise. And she was not doing any of the behaviors that were listed, because we saw Bella look more healthy. We saw her hair growing out, okay? I don't know. I look at the CPS thing and I don't know. I don't know if that fits or not. I do support it in that they were put in daycare from sunup to sundown, and that's not normal. When both parents have to work or have made a choice that because that's the way that they want to afford a certain lifestyle, then they will put their kids in. But when one parent is able to stay home, work at home, in the way that you are your own boss, there are ways that she could have had those children there. She could have done her MLM stuff during the 3-hour nap, and then when CW came home in the evening, so she still could have clocked in her 8 hours for her job in that way. If you are truly your own boss, you can make your own hours, and you can give yourself the days off that you need to if your children are sick, correct? Okay? Now, the way that she purported it was that she was working this business from sunup to sundown. I don't know. I mean, there's the school of thought that says that CPS said that the girls needed to be in daycare because they would have been alone in her care, and that was something that was no longer a suitable solution with the eyes of Child Protective Services. Now, the tuition for that school, the Primrose School, was expensive. It has been confirmed by one of the creators that school is listed as one school that does accept a state grant program, so that in the plan that Colorado may or may not have in keeping the family together, they would give a voucher, so the daycare was not coming out of their pocket. Problem I have with this is that CW called the day that they were missing and said that they would not be coming to school any longer. Okay? That points to him being guilty of something. That does not point to child services being involved, because how could he have taken them out without child services approving it? Okay. That's where I go back and forth. I don't know about this CPS thing. I don't know enough about the system, and I don't know if there's anything specific to Colorado. I don't know. I had dealt with CPS in my own parenting. My husband's ex-wife was a real piece of work, and we were working on getting full custody of his daughter, and so she thought that she could paint me out to be a real bad mama, and she reported me to child services, and it was at a time when my twins were newborn, and they were premature and had problems with their lungs, and it was just a mess, because when you have little babies that are getting sick, then you get sick, and then the other siblings get sick, and so everybody in the house is sick, and you're just sick. So, of course, I get reported by CPS, or if I get reported to CPS in that time, so like I said, I don't think I'd taken a shower in a very long time. I didn't know what to do, because a sheriff came to my doorstep with a CPS worker. And CPS, I'm saying Child Protective Services, where I'm from on the West Coast. That is what we say. I believe that it's called something else in other states. So I get this knock, and I'm like, oh, Lord, what is this? And she identifies herself, and I said, come in, because what else am I going to say, right? I'm a firm believer in people who have nothing to hide nothing. And, come in. If you can offer some pointers or change a freaking diaper for me, go freaking right ahead. You know what I mean? Come on in. I was, my husband's in the military. He was away at sea. It was just a real opportune time for me to be reported for, nothing other than, we're in a custody battle. And I had the twins' little sponge bath stuff set up, their nebulizers set up, their bassinets set up, all in the living room, because it just made the most sense, so that I could keep an eye on my other kids while caring for them that were very sick. And it made sense. Was my living room a mess because I had all of this medical equipment and everything? Yes, so I was so embarrassed, right? Well, so I invite this, deputy in, and CPS worker, and, I've got a coffee machine. I have no problem turning it on, and offered him coffee, and, I know I shouldn't say this, but, donuts. I did. It's like, I was like, oh God, I just honestly offered a deputy a donut. Oh my God, here I go. But we sat there and we just had a great conversation. I just explained kind of, the situation I was in, with kind of the overwhelming nature of my home, and how every time I went to the freaking doctor, I brought the kids in for one virus. They came back out with 5 because they're preemie. And, this was, about 20 years ago. So no masks or anything. It was just that if you're sick, you just continue going everywhere you go, and when you're sick, you go to the doctor's office, and the doctor's office weren't sanitizing in between. So my kids were just really sick when they were preemies. And we just had a great conversation. I mean, I was laughing back and forth with the CPS worker. We're just chatting. Deputy's having a good time. I mean, we just all kind of talked, and, told them the vindictive nature of the ex-wife, and shared what I was going through and whatnot, and the ridiculosity, and they left, and it was no problem. And the pediatrician told me that, they had to follow up on the report. So how was it? I think that they just verified with the pediatrician that I was doing everything per order. And the pediatrician shared with me that because the pediatrician, she goes, I don't have the benefit of being able to go in and see how people are taking care of their kids, but I just got the best eye I can get, because you had a Child Protective Services officer so impressed. You blew her socks off. She said she had never seen anything so organized in her life, and she had never seen anything so set up. Like she said, I basically had my own NICU in the house, and that my babies were well taken care of given the situation and how sick they were. And she'd never seen a better setup. And so I was just like, oh, thank you. Because like I say, mothering is a thankless job. You'll never be thanked. You'll never be called a saint. I don't know where these people are that are saying, oh, she was a saint, she was doing a good job. Because I'm going to tell you, people don't do that. They look at you like you're a pile of shit. And I can even tell you that while I'm on this topic and, husbands at sea and I got all these babies and whatnot, I am not even kidding you. This one gargantuan giraffe of a freaking woman came up to me in my face and looked at all my children. She goes, very poor planning on your part. I'm like, fuck. Oh, okay. Okay, ma'am. That's what you deal with. You deal with people just looking at you like you're a freak. But in that, when you're in the throes of it, because, I was in the restaurant. Here I go, story time again. So I'm in a restaurant and I'm feeding the three littles, as I'm eating. I'm just feeding them, and like, the one vomited and I just, cleaned it up as fast as they did it, and I see this woman was looking over at me in horror and I'm imagining she's going to get up and tell me the same thing the grocery store woman was. She just kept staring at me and it's like, oh my God, ma'am, what? And then, when it was time for our bill, we were told by the waiter that lady was so amazed by us and couldn't believe it and paid for our meal. So there is goodness in the world. And there are people that do notice when you're working your butt off. So when I saw the weird thing where she was like, oh, Chris, just give them a steam shower. Okay, did you give them a steam shower? Yeah, the girls are congested again, so give them a steam shower. What is a steam shower? Okay, what's a steam shower? Why are you giving it to your kid? Okay. Yes, I had asthma as a kid and they didn't know and they didn't have nebulizers in the home and whatnot. Yeah, you'd go into a shower. When the kids had croup, you'd go and you'd steam up the bathroom. But my God, we have technology now. You don't need it to be, and I don't know what a steam shower is. I don't know why she had so many things she said backwards. She said things backwards all the time. That's what I'm telling you is that people did not like this woman when she was in this thing. So all of these people coming and collaborating around saying what a saint she was and everything like that. No, she wasn't. She was human and she was making human mistakes and she was making mistakes that are not nice. She did it from an evil spirit. And you can just see some of the evil ways in which she touches those girls. It's not nice. It's not loving. It's straight up evil and it's shitty. And you know what? And I would have told her that. I'm not afraid. I was freaking straight up told her. I would have been like, you know what? That's not okay. Don't do that. And if she was my sister-in-law or whatever, anybody who knows me knows it would not have happened around me again. And I would have reported it to CPS. Okay. Is that bashing a dead woman? I don't think so. I'm calling out bad behavior. I'm calling out bad behavior that led to a very, very horrible situation in that home. Well, they were still alive, okay? If you look at the quality of life of those girls, you have a very hard time inserting the word quality, okay? When I started to describe the way that the girls were being treated, I said out loud, it's like they were incarcerated, and I had this light bulb moment that my gosh golly goodness, is CW living any differently than the way that he was living when he was in that home and she was his wife? He doesn't look like he's going through that much shock when they have shown him. That's the way he lived too. Everybody in that house lived around her, making sure that they did not upset her extreme need for control and order at every single juncture, no matter if you were a baby, no matter if you were a grown man. Okay, she bragged about when CW stood up for himself, she beat him all the way out the door, put him on the porch, and locked the door. Now, is that acceptable? What would you think if the roles were reversed? And Miss Mensa did bring this up. What if a man was saying about that about a woman? What if a man was saying, Yeah, she stood up for herself once, and we weren't even married yet, and I knocked her all the way out to the porch, let her sit out there till I was good and ready to let her back in. The hell would you have thought of that? You would call that out as abuse in a moment, and you wouldn't say that I was bashing a dead man. Now, would you? No. It's calling out abhorrent and abusive behavior, no matter how or when it happened. And if you film it, if you want to film your bad behavior, I can only imagine what you're not filming, what's not going on those films. If what was being filmed was an acceptable norm with her friends and family, that's problematic. Now, we have to say that possibly the friends or family did alert child services. We can only hope, okay? So, those girls were treated like they were in a juvenile detention center. Juvenile delinquents have more freedom than those two little girls that were age 3 and 4 had in their lives. They had more freedom than adolescent psychiatric patients in a psych camp. They had, did I say more freedom? They had less freedom. I meant to say adolescents in a psych facility, adolescents in a juvenile detention facility. They have more privileges than Bella and Cece did. And the person who was responsible for that low quality of life was SW. Okay? So, stop saying I'm bashing a dead person, for Christ's sake. It is calling out bad behavior so that maybe other people can learn that that is not an acceptable way. And the people who are saying that, oh, well, I did that with my children too, and that's a good mom right there. Maybe we should be looking at the way that they're parenting their children. And maybe we should go to their children and see, you know what the Bible says? That says, look at the quality of their fruit. Okay? Look at the quality of their fruit. These shiners want to be using the Bible and everything. Look at the quality of their fruit. Why don't we look at what their children turned out like? And why don't we ask the children how they liked the way that they were treated or maltreated by this person who is saying that what I am seeing in these videos is a good mom? Because it isn't. Oh, anyway. Sorry I went off on a tangent on that. It's just the way I feel about this sometimes. So anyway. Beautiful Barbie did touch on something that I've thought about too, is that, you know what, was there a group of people or a person who was not happy about their money? Maybe it was all the money that they had that was embezzled from them, and maybe they're living, you know, on the street, or maybe they had something very valuable to them taken away. And they were like, okay, so she can just go and run like a little spoiled brat to another state, marry somebody different, change your name, and then be all over the internet bragging about how you have this and you have that, and you took from me, and my family can't eat now. We don't know the enemies that she made, okay? And that is not blaming the victim. That is still taking a look at abhorrent behavior and how it can lead to deleterious effects. We can put in the other true crime story in that, and we can look at the McStay family. Okay? Horrifying what happened to the McStay family. Okay? Right now, the person who they do believe was responsible for the murder of those two children, the mother and the father, he is saying he did not do it. Okay. I think that there was a documentary on it recently, and he's saying he didn't do it. I think that he was in the business with the husband, right? Or the dad. Something horrible happened because they were all murdered. Somebody who was callous enough to murder two toddlers, their mother and their father. Which one was shot first? Because they were all four found in a shallow grave. The McStay family was missing for a number of years before their bodies were found. It was this huge mystery as to where did they go, because the groceries were found on the counter. You know, the eggs were, just bought. The popcorn was just popped. What happened, right? And there was this whole school of thought that said, oh, they crossed the border and went to Mexico because their vehicle was found here in a shopping center, and they just decided to go to Mexico and live a good new life or whatever. And there was talk of embezzlement and whatnot. I mean, it's just a good rule of thumb is don't go around pissing off people that don't have anything to lose. I mean, a person who has nothing to lose is the most dangerous person to ever mess with. You look at some of these high-profile shootings, the one in the Indianapolis Mall. 22-year-old had nothing going for him, had a juvenile record. We don't know much about his adult record, but what made him go with a shotgun into a food court at a mall? What did he have to lose by losing his own life? He had nothing. There's no one coming forward saying, that was my boyfriend and he just had a bad day. There's no one saying anything. I mean, watch out for people who have nothing to lose, okay? And don't piss off people. Don't piss off. Just a good rule of don't piss off people. Don't steal from them. Don't embezzle. And if you are some kind of shitty ass person who goes and embezzles, maybe stay off of social media and bragging about all that you have now, because the person that you took from probably going to see that. And she made no secret of how to get a hold of her. Play out this scenario, okay? She's putting herself all over. Oh, hey, you want to get these bars. I'm not going to say the company name like I just did 20 minutes ago. Oh, yeah, you want to sell this with me? Oh, yeah. Somebody could have just said, hey, Wilma, will you call this chick and say that you want these bars and ask where you should send the contact information from and whatnot? And there you go. Under 2 minutes, she would have given out her address, because everything was about making this MLM lie facade look real. And how many people had our information? So, I mean, you can go through a multitude of scenarios here. You could say it was a mixed day thing. You could say it's a Ren Eleanor thing. You could say anything. People are saying that this loving father went in and strangled them all. They came back to life, strangled them again, went to work, got all 3 bodies out. Which one of those scenarios sounds more bizarre? I think the one they're trying to shove down our throat does, personally. But I'm not saying he's innocent. Given that, there are, in our American judicial system, there are ways of pleading guilty, but not being guilty. You can be guilty given this circumstance, given this unavoidable circumstance, given the desperate situation you were in, given what was being inserted through your skin from a weird ass sticker. Okay? There are so many unknowns here. So many unknowns. I don't know how the truth is ever going to come out without CW speaking. And I don't know what has him remaining so silent. Okay? I just don't know if he was just such a people pleaser, and if he really, because if I had to go and put money on it, I would go with the one where he walked in and found her doing what he said she did. And then he took care of her after she had taken care of them. By taking care of, you know what I'm saying? I'm just trying not to get kicked off here, okay? So, if I had to bet on one scenario, I would say that first confession is most likely to be true. And even if that was true, the circumstances in which he was living, the girls were being treated, the way that he was being emasculated, mentally tortured, mentally abused. We don't know what other kind of abuse were going on behind closed doors. Well, she's admitted to physically taking control of him once. How many times did it happen? Okay? There is a place in our American justice system that he could have pled guilty for what he did to her. And in that instant, becoming so rageful based on the totality of circumstances in which he was dealing with, it made him snap. Okay? So, when I'm saying I don't know which scenario I believe, I'm being serious. And even when I'm saying if he is guilty, is he guilty by reason of? Because we also have guilty but by reason of insanity. Could we argue that in that moment he was not in control of his faculties? Could we? I don't know. Back when I was working in a hospital, we had a sweet little old lady, and she became psychotic. She bit a frickin' nurse. She frickin' bit the nurse, okay? The nurse was just simply changing her IV, and this woman came up from the bed like an exorcist and bit the nurse's arm like nothing I'd ever seen in my life. I'm like, ooh, ooh. And she wasn't going to stop with just biting the nurse, okay? She was going to bite us all. And so it's like, the nurse had just got bit, called a code, and everybody came in, and it was so terrible because we had to hold this little sweet old woman down, but somebody was going to get, a good-sized bite taken out of them. It was terrible. Haunts me to this day how horrible it was that all these big, strong men, all of us had to hold this little sweet old woman down, right? And she'd been given Zantac, which is a very, very popular drug for heartburn. Once the nurse had put that Zantac in her IV for heartburn, caused a psychotic reaction. Very rare. Hopefully very rare, right? No one had seen it. And the years that I'd been there, anybody had been there, we'd never seen a reaction to Zantac like that, right? Zantac IV caused this woman to go freaking psychotic. So how do we know that there wasn't something in those silly stickers that did not cause a reaction? When we want to say that, they're based with caffeine, caffeine is a drug, okay? Caffeine can have a lot of different side effects. It's a drug. That's why, people of the Mormon faith do not approve of any substance, and that includes caffeine, because it is a mind-altering substance. If you argued that a mind-altering substance was being put in transdermally and caused this person to act in the moment in a way in which he never had, just like this sweet little old lady never had, is he guilty of that? I don't know. And then you say, well, if he did, why is he not feeling terrible about what he did and, and crying like, oh my God, I did this? Those are the questions I can't answer. I don't know. But I just think that it's going to, continue to be talked about until they reopen the case and prove how this happened in the way that they are saying that it did. And if it did, then how was the Hamburglar in her right mind massaging this man in a sexually suggestive way? I don't know. But I am so amazed at the talent that some of these creators have. Okay? Neek's Peaks blows it out of the water. Those are Hollywood level productions. They're not altering the actual videos in any way. They are showing the videos that are accurate and factual in a manner with corroborating information and evidence to say, this is what was happening. This is how we know it. Because when those of us who have seen certain things say so in a discussion, the people who shine come through and say, that didn't happen. Oh yeah, prove it. And they know that it can't be proven because somebody doesn't have all this time in the world and whatnot. Well, Meeks Peaks finally did get the famous haircutting video out. And I had seen it long ago, and I thought it was weird because with her mother being a hairstylist, she would have known more than the average person about hair and hair texture, namely naturally curly hair, especially as they came from the Italian way, if you will. My little sister had the most curly hair you'd ever seen. Very much like Bella. Just so cute. And she was 2, and just this one picture was taken of her. Just adorable, because it was, these curls, and everybody would come up to her and just love these curls and tell my mom, do not cut them, because once you cut these curls, it's never going to grow in like this. It's growing in the way that it's making the natural curls go, and the ringlets and whatnot. And, and everybody would just come up to, my mom, my sister was so cute with the, those ringlets, and here my stringy ass straight hair didn't get any compliments. But anyway, as I grew older and as I had kids, my hair went back to my Italian roots and became really naturally curly. And so I had a lot of trouble when I first get some haircuts, because my hair was being cut traditionally, where you get it cut wet. Well, then when it was dry, it was way too short. I had the Bert and Ernie freaking bangs, look ridiculous, and just not great. Okay, so I learned from hair modeling. I did hair modeling because of my hair texture and whatnot. I learned that my hair needs to be cut in a certain way, and people know this, that when you go through cosmetology school, you are taught about different textures of hair and about different curl patterns. Okay, and because mine was that natural curl, I guess, classification B, whatever, right? I've got this weird kind of curl. So I turned out to be a perfect hair model, because students could work on my hair and be taught in the way that it needed to be for this, that, and the other. Okay, so it was great. I got free hair services, and my hair didn't look like I was being styled by Bert and Ernie's stylist. Okay, so anyway, SW's mom would have known this about Bella's hair. Any of my friends who had hairstylists as mothers hung out in their mom's salon, so they, knew about hair too, and they knew about hairstyling. So that's how you could say SW thought that she could cut Bella's hair, right? She should have known with those curls not to cut them wet, not to pull them up, stretch it all the way up, and then cut, and how to cut, or to just wait until grandma can cut it. Given that, we know that we saw the videos in which she was threatening Bella in the way that she got up next to her and said, "You want another haircut?" And Bella just jumped like a little deer in the headlights. Why would a little girl of 4 years old be given barrettes as a present? Barrettes as praise for not sucking your thumb? The thumb was basically her only friend, because she couldn't have toys or be around her sister except for certain hours of the day, because the Jack and Jill bathroom was locked and no water was in the toilet, because they didn't want Bella to be able to get to Cece in the night. So you've got the bathroom doors locked. That's 2 locks right there, because Jack and Jill bathrooms have the 2 doors. With 2 doors, and then each bedroom was locked. So you got 4 freaking keys, okay? They're going around like freaking janitors, like Mensa said. Going around like janitors with all these keys on them to keep the kids apart and whatnot. Who does this? Who thinks this much about making up all of these rules and weird ways of controlling your kids? Just knock it off and let them freaking breathe and live and eat and drink. And my God, leave their hair alone. Especially if it's like growing out in these beautiful curls. Bella could have had, beautiful flowing curls. But she wasn't cutting that just because she wanted to give her a trim. There was no reason to. With the curly hair like that, it does just kind of curl on itself. It would be super cute in a little ponytail, little updo, would be like two bobby pins and a rubber band. I mean, it would just be so pretty. And that's all she wanted. And so what did SW do? She made sure she didn't have it and made sure she controlled it. In the way in which she was cutting it was hacking it. It was not in the way that she surely had knowledge of how she would not wear her hair. Because let me tell you, that woman, she had her little scraggly ass hair all perfect. It looked all dry and like, hey, not very healthy at all. Like anybody who uses that product with that rhymes with Lisa Bonet. I've seen so many people who use that product just have dry, scraggly hair. And if you look up that product that she was using for her hair, there are multiple stories of people losing their hair from it and it being dry and hay looking. And that's why so many of the Lisa Bonet Huns, have these blonde long extensions. They're all wearing these like hats, these big sun hats with extensions because the hair shampoo product that rhymes with Lisa Bonet makes your hair fall out and look like crap. And hers did. SW's hair did not look healthy. Okay? And that was questionable because if her mom was a stylist, how did she not? And, she cared about her nails. I don't know one mother that has two very young children that can keep their nails up like that. And wouldn't she be afraid of, like, clawing them? And then especially if she was in the healthcare profession, she'd know the freaking E. coli, C. diff. God knows what grows underneath those fingernails and you're changing diapers. Nope. You just take a few years off of your nails, just don't. I don't know. I don't know. But anyway, she was cutting her hair to make her look sickly. There's something very bizarre in the way that she was trying to make those two kids who were they 18 months apart or 20 months apart? She was trying to make them look like they were twins. She was trying to stunt one and excel the other. And she was doing that in the way that they were moving around and eating. Restricting the calories of one, given to the other. Restricting the movement and activity level of one, making the other go more. Trying to get them to meet in the middle so it was like she had twin girls. Which there's a rumor that she had given up twin girls previously. Is that in the pathology? Is that why we're dealing with that? Is that what's going on? What was it that she was trying to work so hard to get them to be that, so much so in their autopsy, there was only 1 pound and 1 inch difference? Wasn't that like super close? They should not have been that close unless you put in the rumor that one of them has a different father. I've seen some comments that really can support that. I don't know. So, you start thinking about this and then you go down the rabbit hole. It's like a flow chart. And you start going here and then here. And then you got to pick up this one and go to that one. Go to that wicket and click that wicket. Because there's so many different rumors and whatnot. And none of us know. Because this case did not go to trial like it should have. Okay, we were ripped off of the truth. We were cheated. It should have absolutely went like the Casey Anthony thing. Not saying that then if it was proven that I'm just saying that Casey Anthony story, they put everything out there and you could look at the evidence. Well, half of it wasn't there. Okay, that was a crappy. Oh gosh, well, Colorado, there was the John Boneta. Gosh, that one's messed up too. You know what? I don't even know of a case that's this weird that was actually proven, because you could say OJ was televised and that there you go. So has there actually been a case where they could put all the pieces together after the information that was given was allowed to be heard by the jury? I don't know. But something more is being left unsaid. And I did see a quote from CW where he had talked to that old woman that went and visited him a few times and wrote the book, or I would call it an essay, but I think she wrote I don't know, not a very, it wasn't a book. I mean, it was like maybe I don't know what, the Cradle Woman. Anyway, the Cradle Woman, she did quote CW as saying, yes, you are right in that there is more to be said, but I always am afraid that the FBI is listening. You are correct in your suspicions that there is more to this story. On that note, I will close, and let's say that indeed there is much more to this story. And I love the discussions we're having, and they all are thought-provoking. And thank you to the creators who are doing the hard work. I am just so impressed that the truth is coming out. It's been so long in coming. So thank you for listening, and thank you for subbing to me. If you can sub to me at one point or another, maybe I'll even be able to get a community page, and then I can put up some of the pictures that I have questions of and put up more thoughts and whatnot to do a community page. So please sub to me if you can. And thank you for listening. And I hope that I've given you a little bit of food for thought. And thank you, Bonita Barbie, for stimulating my brain tonight and letting me express all of these thoughts in the way that I did. And I'll continue to listen to you too. And thank you all for listening. Bye-bye.